Hi again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of First Person, sponsored as always by the Precision Strip Company in Minster, Ohio. A great tradition of service to the All-Glaze County community, a great place to work. We talk about it all the time. They're always looking for good people. They may be looking for you. Give them a call or check them out online. The address is scrolling across the bottom of the screen here on First Person. Once again, sponsors of First Person on Press Pros Magazine, the Precision Strip Company in Minster. I looked it up the other day, Lance Schneider. 7 years ago, we did First Person together.
Oh, wow. Cool.
7 years ago, at the time, you were the head football coach at Northmont. Since those 7 years, a lot of water under the bridge. I think 4 years ago it was. You left Northmont, not of your own choosing, but since that time, I know it's been a tough 4 years for you in terms of trying to get back into coaching and football, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first of all, let me say congratulations on being the new head football coach of the MIAMSBURG Vikings. That was announced about 3.5 weeks ago. Good for you.
Thank you very much.
Good for you. Tell me a little bit about the journey and what the last 4 years has been like for you.
Well, it's been a tough lesson. You know, it's one of the things where you get too comfortable in a position and you think you're good to go, and you do something stupid and you pay the price for it. And it's one of the things that it was a tough lesson to learn, but in the end, even though I had to endure a lot of things over 4 years and go through a lot of ups and downs and battle a lot of personal issues because of it, I think in the end it made me a better person, and it made me understand and appreciate what I have, and this second time around things will be a lot different.
It also makes you appreciate, I'm sure, because I deal with this myself. We just talked about this a little bit before we turned on the camera. It makes you appreciate the difference in the culture today, and social media, and all the pitfalls of being public. And certainly I don't think there's anything more public than what I do, and certainly what you did for those 16 years as a head football coach at Northmont. You are out there, you are a target.
Yeah, that's for sure. And now with all the social media outlets and
yes, sir.
And just anything that you do or say anymore can instantly show up on a website or things like that. And it's just one of the things that you just have to understand what the culture's like now and what people are going to do and what they're going to find, and hopefully that you can kind of recover from those things and let people understand that that person doesn't exist anymore, and hopefully you've made all the right decisions that kind of help counter those things and get you back to where you need to be.
Over the last 4 years, you and I have spoken periodically, and the one thing that I always struck me was I wondered how discouraging it was, because I know you have applied for many different positions, from Division I through, I don't know, 6, 7, a lot of different schools. How discouraging has that process been for you over the past 4 years? You mentioned going through some low times, and we talked about that. Tell me what that was like for you.
Well, when it first happened to me, it was just one of the things where you go through depression, you go through, how could I have done things differently, and those type of things, and then, then you're searching for a job, and, you go through, I applied for jobs all over the country. I just didn't sit here and try to do it in Ohio. And, I got a call from a guy out in San Diego that was willing to give me a chance, but then they go to the higher ups and talk to the human resources and superintendents, things like that, and you just find that most people aren't willing to take a chance anymore. And people could Google my name and find stuff on the internet about what happened and those things, and you just hope at some point somebody's willing to give you a chance. And I had interviews at 3 or 4 places and over the years, and some places were willing to give me a chance, but they didn't have a teaching job, I'd get into the interview process, and then people would say, well, it's just not going to be the right fit. Basically telling me that the administration just doesn't want to stick their neck out for you. So it's frustrating, especially when people will call you and tell you, man, you're the best interview we had. We're just not willing to take a chance, or like I said, we don't have a teaching job in the building for you. So, it's just one of the things that God's teaching you patience, man, and at some point things are going to go your way if you pray about it and are patient enough about it, and thank God it finally did.
And I would think this would be the most discouraging part. You're the best football coach available.
Yeah, that is the hardest thing is, resume-wise, going into a lot of these jobs that, I'm the best resume. It's just one of those things that, are people willing to overlook it and, say, hey, the guy's changed and we're willing to give him a second chance.
Lance Schneider, the newly appointed or hired head football coach at MIAMSBURG, our guest this week on First Person. We talked a little bit about that 4 years and that process, and this always stands out to me when somebody like you is the victim of what you just described. We're a country, we're a culture, we're a community, it's what you hear in various school districts, in churches, everywhere. We're a culture of second chances. Everybody deserves a second chance. And it seemed like, except if you were Lance Schneider.
Yeah.
What did the people in the 100 jobs, what was the reason why people said, we can't hire you? You said, well, it just didn't going to work out. Why wouldn't it have worked out?
Like I said, I just think a lot of places just weren't willing to stick their neck out for you and say, hey, this is our guy, and we understand he's made a mistake, and these are the changes he's made, and it just takes a special place for that to happen, and MIAMSBURG did it mainly because I grew up there, and I had a lot of people in the community, some money people, and some people were just like, hey, we know the guy, this guy, he's changed his life, he's learned his lessons, and we need to offer him this opportunity. And a lot of people went to bat for me, and I think it was one of those situations where the administration felt comfortable that, okay, the fire and brimstone, we're going to hunt down Frankenstein if they hire this guy, was not going to happen.
You mentioned the mistake you made, and the irony to me is the mistake you made is one that 80, 90%, 9 out of 10 of us make every week and walk away from. It's a statement that you regret maybe, or ill-timed or ill-placed that comes back to haunt you, but it's something that we all do.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people were saying, man, that stuff's said in coaches' offices and locker rooms and teacher workrooms every day.
And it's like it is. And still is.
The problem is I wrote it, and so it was there for everybody to see. And, I regret the decision of doing it every day of my life. And, but now finally somebody's giving me an opportunity, so I can kind of now put that to bed and put it behind me, and I don't think about that anymore, which I did for 4 years,
Let's talk a little bit about football itself.
Yeah.
A little bit more pleasant. Tell me what football has changed. We just talked about, before we went on camera, about the culture of football in the last 5 years, and some people say some not so pleasant things about the future of football. Other people, hold the old company line that football is what football is. It's Friday Night Lights. This is Ohio. It's part of the culture. But tell me a little bit about what you've noticed in your 5 years away from the game.
Well, I think now, just the society the way it is now, people want instant gratification, and kids aren't really willing to say, okay, I'm going to be a JV kid, and I'm going to work my way up and finally be a varsity starter, as a junior or senior. And
I don't know it all starting out.
Right, exactly. And it's just one of the things where I think, like I said, just everybody just thinks, oh, if I'm not going to be a starter, I don't want to be part of that. And it's a shame because so many great players, kids that I had at Northmont weren't starters. Kurt Coleman didn't start for us as a sophomore. He's 10 years in the NFL. And it's one of the things where if you build a program that's really good, it's going to be hard for those young guys to start. But, hopefully they can contribute on special teams and put in the work that they got to put in the weight room and those type of things, so that as they grow, then they become a viable part of your program and help you can keep that winning tradition going year after year.
Probably the luckiest program in Southwest Ohio is the Miamisburg Vikings. They have somebody like U of L. Steve Schneider did a great job there.
He did.
Left the program in a very good place for you to come in and assume. Tell me a little bit about, I know you said you got plenty of bodies to work with. That's always a plus, particularly in the current culture that we've just been talking about. But briefly, tell me a little bit about what you have to look forward to come September.
Well, we're replacing 18 starters, so, people say that's a bad thing, but when you're changing into a whole different offensive system, that's probably not a bad thing. We have to look at that as a positive. Now, being in the weight room and seeing the kids and meeting the kids, there's plenty to work with. There's a lot of big kids down there, and there's a lot of kids who are really good kids, man. Getting the grade reports and things like that, I'm seeing that most kids are doing a really good job in the classroom, so I don't have to battle that too much. And it's just one of the things that if they buy in and drink the Kool-Aid, the nice thing was when I had the first player-parent meeting, the Commons was packed, and I mean, it wasn't just players and parents. There were people in the community there. Everybody kind of wanted to see, what this was going to be, and like you said, Steve did a great job down there and made Miamisburg football relevant. Now it's my job to just try to make it a little bit better, everybody likes what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish, and accountability is one of the things that we preach in our program, and the kids are excited about that and really want to kind of develop that amongst themselves in the program and to try to make it better.
Tell me what it's been like about putting a staff together. Are you getting the old band back together? I'm sure your dad's involved.
Yeah.
But Kinger and some of the other people, are they willing to come back and coach?
Well, I got Eric Gillespie, who coached for me 1 year at Northmont. He's going to be my defense coordinator, and Eric's he's a very enthusiastic coach, but he's a very knowledgeable coach too, and I'm really excited to have him with us. Most of the guys I'm keeping. Brian Myers, our offensive line coach. I played t-ball with Brian Myers, so I mean, and Doug Berry's our receiver coach. Doug was one of our quarterbacks at Wayne, and he lives down in the community. So the nice thing is I'm going into a new situation, but I knew a lot of the people there. So and the guys I didn't know, like one guy I shared a flight with back from Charlotte. And he just looked at me and said, "Are you Lance Schneider?" I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I'm Pat Castro. I'm the D-line coach at Miamisburg." And this is before I got the job. So I got to meet him, and talk to him in the airport. And so it's really kind of been a neat process, seeing people I haven't seen for, 25, 30 years. I left Miamisburg when I was a freshman. Was my last year there because my dad took the Wayne job. So just getting to reconnect with a lot of people. Chris Amsler's on my staff. He's one of the freshman coaches. I grew up with Chris. I mean, so it's really kind of cool to just kind of reconnect with all the people that I haven't seen for a long time.
I know a lot of contemporary football fans are delighted for your opportunity. I know a lot of your colleagues are happy for you. I'm personally very happy for you.
Thank you, sir.
You've always been good to us, and I wish you nothing but the best down there, and many happy days ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Lance Schneider, the new coach at Miamisburg, our guest this week on First Person, again sponsored by the Precision Strip Company in Minster. Check them out. Always looking for good people, a great place to start or end your career. Check them out. Proud sponsors of First Person here on Press Pros. For Lance Schneider and our sponsors, that wraps up this week's edition. As always, I thank you for your support of what we do on PressProsMagazine.com, and we'll see you next time with another edition of First Person.